support. And more than that, it's not just down to them, right? It's working in collaboration with others, like the regulator, with each other. Who else do you think needs to be part of that picture in driving change?
Well, I think obviously national government needs to be, but I think businesses have got a really important part to play. The energy sector generally has got to do some really serious engagement with local authorities. I think up until now, I think somebody once told me that sort of National Grid only really saw itself as having some kind of 6 customers because they were the big generators and they were the ones they had to deal with. Well, obviously, when we're going to a multi-generator situation with a decentralized energy system, then you've got loads more people you have to engage with. And that's not really how our energy system has worked. In 2026, it's going to be 100 years since the National Grid was established. And the National Grid was established having built up from a set of small decentralized energy systems. And they thought, actually, this is no good. We need these are great where they are, but we need to standardize this, like Matt says, and make sure everybody can benefit. So we don't know what a national grid should or could look like that will be suitable for a net zero world yet. Or if somebody does, they haven't explained it yet to the kind of people who make decisions. And that's the really key thing.
So bringing it all together, do you think that cities and communities will be able to step up to the challenge and play a role in the green recovery if we can start to align these outcomes?
Given encouragement and given the sense that this could be the national purpose that brings us together, I think COVID has had some opportunities to bring us together as well as drive us apart. What people really need is some hope on the other side that we can reset things a little bit. And I think that's where local leaders and national leaders could come together and say, okay, we need to bury our differences on these things. We know we've got to tackle COVID, but COVID has given us a foreshadowing of what a climate crisis could be like with these kind of inequalities, these kind of economic and health impacts. So we've really got to dig in and do this properly. And that means investment in our communities for jobs and for better health. A lot of this will need to be done at local level, partly because local leaders are the ones who are better placed to build a public consent and support for tricky things. You know, it's the place in which you live is so important to your own well-being. When somebody starts mucking about with it, you want to be able to go and knock on their door and bother them about it. And that's what local government is for.
So working together, building community, building bridges, creating jobs, and that little bit of hope that you mentioned earlier. Critical.
Yeah, definitely a bit of that, yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, Polly. That's been absolutely fantastic.
And now it's time for our final segment, Future or Fiction. In this segment, Fraser pitches an exciting and innovative net zero technology idea. Becky and I have to decide if we think it's the future of the planet or if it's completely in Fraser's imagination.
Thanks very much, Matt. Yes, so last episode, I want to note just for the record that both of you guys got the question wrong. We were talking about space-based solar, which is in fact the future, allegedly. But this week, we have something a little closer to home. So this week's technology is called human energy. So humans move all the time and use increasingly small devices that require very little power to operate, smartwatches, etc., etc. With this in mind, scientists have designed a wearable microsystem that turns human movement into energy to power things like smartwatches. Future or fantasy?
So I actually know a little bit about this. So I know that this is called piezoelectric, and it's where you turn compressions or tensions in a material into energy. And so this is one of the very few things that I learned during my PhD, which has turned out to be quite useful.
All right, so she's done a PhD on it. Great, okay. I'm at a massive disadvantage here.
So, I mean, I've not seen it applied in the real context. I've seen it applied in little things like where they've had, like piano steps on the walkway and people tread on them and it generates sound. So I guess similar concept.
Have something similar with a dance floor as well, which would kind of, the kinetic motion would set off the lighting.
Yeah. And do you know why I got really interested in this? Is because, so when I started my PhD, I desperately wanted to become a ski designer. Clearly something happened along the way. But the reason I learned about this technology was because there was talk about it being applied in skis, so that the faster you were traveling and the more vibrations, that you could then harness that energy and use it to create additional tension in the skis. So that's why I learned about it in the first place. I've never seen it being applied in the context that you're talking about, Fraser, but I can't imagine it's too much of a leap to say that it is indeed the future.
So, hang on, before we go to the big reveal, you were saying for what type of application, Fraser?
So in this case, we're talking about a micro system, as in a wearable system, something that you would have about your person,
right,
that would convert your movements into energy to then be used to power small appliances about your person.
Yeah, okay. So, but for instance, I know that they did this. Wasn't Rolex. It was another watch company who did this with kinetic motion, and I think would charge the watch battery.
I think you're right.
I'm potentially talking rubbish. I ought to fact check myself there, but I seem to remember it's one of those things you look through the catalogue on a plane, plane journey. On those years ago when we used to go on those things, you could, is this ringing a bell for you guys or not?
I don't want to give the game away. I don't want to give the game away.
I wonder why you were looking at me blankly. Okay, right. I'm going for a yes, but I don't think it's probably for the electrical items you're talking about. I don't think it's commercially viable today, but I'm sure people are looking into it.
So that's a future from Matt. Is it a future from Becky?
Yeah, a future from me.
Very unsurprising, since we somehow have an expert in this field on the call as well.
And was going to be one of the engineers doing this for skis. So,
in this incarnation, researchers in the UK have developed a knee brace that collects electrons while you walk. As your knee bends, metal veins vibrate like a guitar string to produce electricity that can then connect to a small watch, a small battery, to power small physical appliances.
Thanks, Fraser, for that. And thanks to everyone else for being with us. We release new episodes every second Thursday. Today is Thursday, the 19th of November, so the next episode will be in your feed the first Thursday in December. Please subscribe so you get Local Zero automatically downloaded to your feed. Spread the word, tell people around you about this exciting new podcast and everything that you're learning from it. Also, we can answer your questions. Contact us on Twitter with the hashtag LocalZero and at EnergyRev_UK with anything you want to know about climate change and energy and local solutions, and we'll do our best to answer all your questions in the future episodes.
Next time, we are looking at the path to net zero at the city level. We'll be focusing on Glasgow, which is an especially interesting and pertinent case to us. So join us then. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.